Welcome to Oklahoma Real Estate Radio, the podcast for industry professionals who want to be in the know. I'm your host, Christi Gillentine, and join me as I talk to the best in our business as they share valuable market insight, offer solutions you can use now, and share local information you won't find anywhere else. Thanks for joining, and we hope you enjoy this episode. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining our podcast. Today we have Tracy Ellis from the Tracy Ellis Team at Keller Williams Realty. Tracy, I'm so glad to have you on today.
It is great to be with you. Great to see you again. Our paths have crossed over the last decade.
Yeah.
But to sit down and actually have this conversation at the first. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know you're going to have a lot to offer everybody listening, and just your insight and advice and the experience that you've had in 10 years is going to bring a lot to the guests listening today.
Thanks for the invite and looking forward. I love my power word for this year is collaborate.
Okay.
So interesting when you set your face to the mountain, how the mountain shows up. Opportunities to collaborate in this industry are just powerful. I consider this a manifestation of that particular word that was chosen back in October of last year during our vision board session. So
that's awesome. Why don't you start by telling us how you got into real estate? And I know you've been in for at least 10 years. So tell us a little bit about your journey.
I spent 35 years in full-time pastoral ministry. I was the senior minister for a church in Jenks for 23 years.
Okay.
And then took a couple of years. We have a ranch a couple of hours from Tulsa. And I moved there, worked with a very small church for a very short period of time. And then just felt like it was the season of life to do something different. I have a very adventuresome spirit, a very entrepreneurial spirit, actually. And so considered options, and real estate seemed to be something that I'd always been intrigued with. And I simply took about 6 months to get through that real estate course, which can take about 2 days. I drew it out as long as I possibly could and moved into real estate. Let's say I got licensed probably in February, March of 2013, went through what we're under the Keller Williams brokerage, what they consider career launch the last week of April, first week of May of 2013, and have just been on this very focused path over the course of the last decade, now moving into the 11th year, which is crazy, and have loved every single minute of it. I've never had so much fun in my life.
Yeah, it is a roller coaster. It keeps us on our toes.
It does. It does. Yeah. Absolutely. So that's a little bit of the background. Started building a team from day one. So I've been very team centric. I had no clue 10 years ago what that looked like, but we etched it out over the course of the decade. And it is probably the greatest joy is just being able to partner with others that are seeking to do something similar and being able to wrap resources around them and for us to grow together. It brings me more joy than I can possibly imagine.
I love that. And you have a large team. So let's talk about that for a second. Tell me kind of the structure of your team and how many agents you have and how you guys are set up.
So we are very organic and grassroots in everything that we do, specifically in terms of how we grow. So we are as many as 4 generations deep. So I brought Jeff brought Mike brought Tim, I brought Cassandra brought Brenda, and the list goes on. I brought Kelsey, brought Corley brought Heath. And so we don't run ads on Indeed or other places that are recruiting. We just have added 2 new people, actually 3 just recently. And it really is all about fit because every team is structured differently.
Right.
The culture of every team is different. I started early on, and we have just systematically added with an intent to grow. And yet at the same time, we're not out making phone calls and trying to recruit people from other brokerages and things like that. The majority of all of our people have been moving from one industry into real estate and then wrapping them with resources and helping them find success. So That's been our benchmark to turn them into mega producers, which has been fun. And it is a collaborative process. So we have around 10 or so that are full-time. We have another 6 or 7 that are I think we have about 7 or so that are in referral status only, and we probably have 4 or 5 that are part-time. And there's a reasoning behind that, and we're very selective in terms of how we do that. Again, it all aligns with the environment of the team and who would be a good fit. So we're not looking for part-time people. We're at the same time, there's a place for somebody to move from part-time to full-time. So we have a structure in place.
So when you talk about team fit, what does that mean to you for an agent? When a person's a fit, what does that look like?
We go through a process once somebody encounters someone that they think would be a good fit on the team, whether it's myself. We have a leadership team that consists of myself, our director of operations, the person that leads our concierge level, and then my daughter, Kelsey, has been with us, I think, 7 years now, and she is our coaching and mentoring, the person on the team. And somebody from the team frequently says, hey, here's somebody we might want to talk with. So we start with a conversation with 1 or 2 people on the leadership team. And then if that really does feel like a good fit, then we bring the entire leadership team in and we just have a conversation. Usually it's lunch or something like that, very natural, casual. If we walk away from that and everybody goes, wow, they would be a great fit. And we're all very uniquely different on the leadership team. So we don't all think alike, act alike. We have different perspectives, and everybody's voice is incredibly valuable in that. If we go through those couple of steps, then we usually invite them to come and join us for one of our team lunch and learns. And big experience around the team and see what that looks like. The team, if anyone says, hey, I've got some radar went off. We had that conversation. It's not a veto process, but it is a collaborative process. And so by the time we get through all of that, it usually works itself out to where the person that has become a part of the team, they feel very confident. The team feels confident and welcoming. We can talk about that in a little bit. We're not just a team, but there's an environment that exists that is very positive and very healthy for each individual person. We can talk more about that in a little bit. But we get through all of that. Usually it is welcome, climb on board, and how can we all help you succeed?
Nice.
And that's part of that tribalism that we have culture.
Yeah. And I know being a team leader for a long time, that culture is important to protect. And it's really easy to kind of mess that up when you make the wrong decision with somebody. Tell me about a time in which you found somebody that maybe wasn't a match and how you handled that gently, right? Letting that agent know that maybe we're not a fit. How do you do that?
And it does. It's a part of those original conversations. And when we're talking with someone, and honestly, so often we know these people or there's been some relational connectedness. And that's again, we're not out here advertising to grow the teams. And I genuinely say to them, look, I value your friendship, our relationship, more than just being colleagues in business together. And so if for whatever reason this doesn't work for you, or if it wouldn't work for the team, for whatever reason, shake hands, we will continue to be friends and we will continue to be colleagues. Some of the best agents don't belong on teams. They just don't. So actually have had a phenomenal track record. And so we've not really ever had to have those difficult parting conversations, which is fabulous. We've had a couple of things that have happened. We had an engineer and he's fabulous, but he fairly quickly decided that the engineering platform was better for him and his family, young family. But that wasn't a negative. We're still friends. We still text. We're still in communication. So we actually haven't had any negative partings at all, ever.
That's great.
It is. It is. It's very affirming on that side, the relational side. I did a training for some team leaders out of Las Vegas a month or so back, and I shared a phrase that I do live by, and that is that leverage is the key to wealth and generosity is the key to leverage.
Right.
So somebody says, okay, how do we, and not just financial wealth, even though that would certainly factor into that, but leverage is the key, but then also being generous on the backside. So we want to create a platform that allows us to be as generous as possible. I must also say too, that no one works for the Ellis Real Estate Team. So everyone is an individual entrepreneur. They own their own business. And we remind them of that every single week when we gather for our lunch and learn. You are a business owner. You own your own business. We partner. And as I mentioned a moment ago, we collaborate together. We wrap them with resources, but they own their own business. Their success is on their shoulders. And I think I had shared with you that years ago, I was able to succinctly write down my own personal mission or mantra, and that is to curate an environment that first encourages and then necessarily equips entrepreneurs to succeed at the highest level. And notice the first word in there that's significant is environment. And so I am very protective of an environment that is encouraging and uplifting and certainly accountable.
Right.
But I also, the backdrop of that, and Christi, I'm just flat old. So when you get old, you value certain things.
Yeah.
And life, your family, the things that you enjoy, nothing is more important than that. So we have a healthy understanding, I believe, when it comes to what they are not producing for me. Nobody is producing so that I can enjoy a better life. That's not the point behind it. So we want to get into what is the dream they have and hold for their life, and how do we help you accomplish that from a business perspective?
Yeah. And I got to say, you have an ability to retain. Team retention is big. For me, that was always big too. And I was always surprised that I could retain agents. So you've got agents that have been with you for years. And it's difficult to retain good agents. So what's your secret sauce there?
I laugh because Tracy Jackson leads our concierge level. And my first year in the business, just the first few months in business, she had a listing and I had a buyer, and I said, "Hey, let us roll out the red carpet for you. Come over and become a part of what we're doing." And she's from England, so she has a beautiful British accent. And she says, "Let us see how we feel about one another at the closing table." And that has led to a 10-year phenomenal relational journey that I value and appreciate her and her wisdom. She is absolutely centric to the environment that we have. We've had Tracy's been with us 10 years. Dan Langdon's been with us. Jeff's been with us 9. Dan's been with us 8 or 9. It's just crazy, the length of time. And all of these people are friends and colleagues, and I want more for them than I can even put into words. And so it's again, they do not work for me. And I look at people straight in the eye when we're sitting across the table. You will not work for me, and you won't work for the Ellis Real Estate Team. And I don't work for Keller Williams. I have to remain in culture with Keller, which I think is valuable. But Keller lets me run my own business. And I said, "You will run your own business." One of the things, and I didn't put this down, but we have a 3-point system that we train on. We do a lunch and learn every Wednesday from 11 to 1. It's highly participated in, highly attended by the team. And on 3 things. One is working on your business. So this is CPAs and attorneys and trust people and all of these things that nobody tells you when you're going to run your own business.
And now a quick word from our sponsor. Hey, Oklahoma professionals, are you looking for a title company you can trust? Titan Title Company is your go-to partner for seamless real estate closings. With a proven track record of excellence and a team dedicated to your success, Titan Title is here to elevate your transactions with fast, reliable, and personal service. Make the smart choice for your clients and for your business. Call Titan Title today at 918-893-6992. Titan Title, closing your deal and opening new possibilities.
How do you do that effectively? So working on your business, working in your business. What are the fundamentals of this business? How do we get better at that? And we train on that consistently. And the third is personal growth and development. That is huge because it really is a personal growth journey. We just introduced the book, Build the Life You Want, which is a new release by Arthur C. Brooks and Oprah. Teamed up together, and they basically how to have a happier life.
Gotcha.
And build the life you want, how to be happier. And it's scientifically based, so it's not just airy-fairy. It's not just, and I do believe in manifesting and things on that line, but this is very scientifically based. So we're training on that. We've introduced the book last October. We launched it in January, and there's an 11-part series that we're following. And that's basically, again, the knowledge and a growth perspective that helps each of us basically look in the mirror and ask, what do I want for my life? And all of us want a good life. So how do we get there? And
Right.
you approach it differently than I, and so also the team. But so we train on that triangle. So we train on it. So every week something different, which I love because it stays balanced and fresh. And we're
Yeah.
always looking at something that will be meaningful to people on the team.
So you're bringing in like guest speakers and doing books and things like that. So that's how you're keeping your culture going and
Yep.
keeping everybody engaged and on the same page on a more than just a sales level.
No, we actually have every week there's a sponsor who provides lunch for the team, and they get about 15 minutes to talk about what they do, and
Yeah.
maybe it's a vendor. We also, if they're running their own business, we do a Q&A on how they're running their business. How have you
Oh,
found success? How do you, because believe it or not, the principles all apply, whether it
yeah.
doesn't matter what industry you're in.
Yeah.
Every lender out there is running their own business.
Right.
How are you finding success? What
Right.
principles do you employ in order to find that success? Yeah, there's an interview portion of that, and then there's usually a training piece, as well as where are we at in the market? So what listings do we have coming on? Who has put somebody into contract? And we're running fun challenges on the
Yeah.
regular for the team, and that just helps to keep everybody engaged as well. Our people love to be together. You just say there's free food, and they just want to share.
Yeah.
Mm.
I always said you can't get them here unless they're being fed. And then you put the food in the mouth and they're quiet and they'll listen.
It's an industry that is hard to maintain one's weight in because
Yeah.
everybody uses food as that elixir.
It's true. That's so true. That's so true. Oh my gosh. You got to stay away from like the daily donut drops from the lenders and things like that.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
So you said a term, you wrap your agents in resources, right? So what does that look like for an agent? What kind of resources are they going to be able to have to tap in to really take their business to that next level?
And that's a great question because we want the agent to be very, very well-rounded and very holistic so that should they ever need to leave the team. In fact, we had an agent that moved to Florida. She calls me a few months later and she's, I'm watching people sell houses down here and I need to be selling houses. And I'm like, let's team up.
Yeah.
And so,
I saw you had a branch
yeah,
in Florida. So that's how, okay. That
yeah,
makes sense.
celebration. Absolutely. One of the easiest ways to expand. If you're doing business together here, then do business together somewhere else. Yeah, we're having fun with that. It's going really well. Resources from a resource standpoint, we want them to. So all the agents on the team, because they run their own business. They can work with buyers, they can work with sellers, they can choose whatever platform they choose on that side. We don't provide leads for the
Mhm.
team, which I think is probably unique. I don't know that there's that many teams out there. You're a real estate agent. You got to figure out from a grassroots standpoint, you got
Mhm.
to figure out how to survive in this industry and how to
Right.
thrive. And once you do, you're going to love it. So etching that out. So I would say from a resource standpoint, nothing surpasses the environment that they get to participate in. So
Mhm.
when you get everybody together, you have 10, 12, 15 people, and you've got people that are on the fast track and doing a ton and if I'm sitting here not doing anything, the self-implication of that is huge. So
Yeah.
there's a balance that occurs without it being penal, without somebody trying to punish you. So
Right.
you're part of an environment and you're watching people succeed at different levels. And there's just a very healthy perspective that emerges out of that. From a resource standpoint, we handle the back stuff that's hard to handle, everything from all of the marketing. We even manage the database, it's their database, but we
Mhm.
manage. So we're operating from Keller Williams has codified the 36 touch
Uh-huh.
that basically says, hey, if you're in front of your sphere of influence 36 times a year, then when a real estate need surfaces, they're going to shoulder tap you. They're going to call
Right.
you. So our database, we're managing the team database. It's their database. If they leave, the database goes with them, but we're touching their database. They have a responsibility. And ultimately, for business to come from that, they have to be fully engaged with it. But even if
Okay.
they're not, we're touching their database throughout the entirety of the year in some very creative ways. I think that's absolutely huge because the
Mhm.
average agent that's out here and very busy ignores their database. It's the number
Right.
one mistake that's made in the industry. And to understand how important the database is, to understand how important it is to stay in touch with people is key. So Joseph Hurd is our director of operations. He's been with us, I think, going on 3 years now.
Mhm.
And he manages the team database, handles all of the marketing that we do as well. So we handle all of the marketing. So all of the things that just the back type stuff that people don't want to have to deal with is pretty much handled for them. And those are some of the things. There's a lot of things that I think fall into the resource category. Knowledge is power, right?
Mhm.
Knowledge is power. And we run probably the most culturally inspired thing that we do is we run, it's now a group me because we've got a few people that are like on Android, not on iPhone. So we have to run a group me. And you can throw any question, any need, any positive thing that's happening into that group me thread, and you'll instantaneously get answers and
Right.
responses. Somebody says, hey, throw me 2 good plumbers, and they'll get 4. An appraiser, somebody, does not matter. It's any question. No questions are wrong. All questions are right. But the resources that come through that thread, moment by moment throughout that, and actually, there's more humor in that thread
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
than there is actual business, which is again part of the culture. I think we opened our own brokerage office in March of last year. I don't know if you knew that or not. So we are actually in Jenks on A Street in Jenks.
Okay.
And so, but we were known as the loud group, the party group at Keller Williams South. We have a very good time when we get together. So from a resource standpoint, it's, hey, I matter. I belong. I have
Yeah.
a place here. I am valued here. And it's not based on how much I produce. It's
Gotcha.
not based on, am I leading the pack? Am I dragging the backside? No, you're a person. You matter. Your story matters. Your
Mhm.
life matters to us. We love and appreciate you, and we love doing business. We love being in business together. So that, and I think too, when you think of getting into an industry brand new, which is the story for most of our people, where can you go and find that type in business, in the corporate
Yeah.
world? It's hard to find that type scenario that says, I don't know anything. I'm going to step into this
Yeah.
like blindly, and then receive that level of encouragement and support. A couple of things. One, so we have the weekly lunch and learn. Each October, we sponsor a 2-day vision board retreat. And that's where we
Okay.
get kindergartners again, and we do the vision board. And it
Yeah.
really is, hey, what dream do you have and hold for your life? And pushing boundaries to get people to think beyond maybe where they've been before. It's 2 days of cut and color and glitter and poster board and magazines and loud and boisterous. We always bookend it with some training. We
Uh-huh.
have somebody, a guest that comes in, pushes us to think deeper and more holistically. We have a fun event that is attached to that as well. So we do the vision board, and that is followed by a business planning clinic. So we do a business planning clinic. Some years it's one-on-one, and some years we do it as a group. This last year we did it as a group.
Uh-huh.
And in that, we're saying, what level of business do you need to achieve in order to fund the dream that you have and hold for your life? What level, how successful do you need to be this year? So they set that power number, which can represent an amount that needs to be made or a number of
Mhm.
transactions that they want to see closed. And that's absolutely key. So that business planning clinic gives us the teeth to be able to say, this life that I'm dreaming is realistic. I can make this happen. So now we have the business planning clinic. And then once the year starts, we quarterly do a one-on-one review. So where are you with your goals? You set these goals in October, and
Yeah.
where are you now? To put that into perspective, in 22, we closed out 2022 with a record year.
I saw that.
A
Tell us
record year.
about that.
That was for 2022. It was crazy. Interest rates were still 3%.
Yeah.
And we were like, woo, hey, this is great. And we wrapped 2022. I think we did 196 transactions and 54.3 million or something like that. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And I don't curse, But we hit January of 2023 and got bitch slapped.
Yeah.
It was like, whoa, what happened?
Yeah.
And then within about 6 or 7 months, we went from 3 to 8% interest.
Yeah.
And in the decade that I've been in real estate, that's the first shift that technically it wasn't, but it was the first
Sure.
shift at that level that
Yeah.
we experienced. And when we talk about quarterly reviews, where are you? What's happening? So we hit about the third quarter and we were like, wow, this is a real shift.
Yeah.
And we knew that going along with the team. We were
Right.
like, hey, wow, we're really down. Now, we ended the year because we didn't let up. We didn't change our goals. We didn't change anything. We just kept getting up every day, making real estate happen. And so this last year, we ended with 186 transactions. We were supposed to have had 190. We had some push, 186 transactions and 53.2 million, I think.
Mhm. Okay.
So we were just a little bit shy of what we did the year before. The year before was a record year, and this 23 was a shifting market.
Yeah.
And we actually, by having expanded into Florida and including their numbers, we were ahead of what we did in 2020.
Oh, nice.
So from a business perspective, we were stronger in 2023 than we were in 2022, which has been our year-over-year record
Yeah.
over the last 10 years that we've been in business. So
Gotcha.
it's exciting on that side. So that level, so we quarterly sit down and say, how are you doing? Where are you at? And how can we help you? How can we help you? Our leadership team meets weekly, and sometimes we meet multiple times each week. And under the auspice, each time that we meet, how can we add more value to our team? What else can we do to add value to our team? And when you have that as your mantra, then it's, hey, what about this? And can we add this resource? And how can we make this easier for them? So that's what the question that we live with is how to add value. And I think we all appreciate that. The team appreciates it as well. So that quarterly review and then the half year review is basically holding accountable. We allow them to hold themselves accountable. This is what you said you needed to accomplish.
Right.
How are you doing? Do you need to make changes and adjustments? How can we help you? So it's not punitive. Somebody may be way off their mark. Punitive. It's literally, how do we help you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do we adjust and pivot?
Yeah. It's not being called into the principal's office. It's, okay, we're here. And especially if we are experiencing success throughout the team at different levels, we're accumulating all of that knowledge and information. And again, it's not that's being held back from them. They get that through our lunch and learns, through interacting, just being engaged. But it often helps to consolidate that from a vision standpoint. You go, okay, we've got this person that's succeeding even in this market. How do we transition that to other people on the team?
Yeah. When you mentioned that you guys, when you do your business planning and stuff, think about how you can add more resources or support the agents. What are some of the things you're going to be doing in 2024 to level that up for them?
I love it. In fact, we have, and this is the word curate is a neat word. We've curated it over time. So we have what we call a client engagement calendar. A couple of things on that side. We sometime years ago adopted the term, it's not a database, it's a guest list. So these are people that we're in relationship with. We want to be in relationship with these people, whether they're new clients, new people, or long-term friends and acquaintances. So we've developed what we consider to be the client engagement calendar. And we literally have an event. I think without exception, every month there is an event.
Oh, nice.
And a lot of those events are actually in-person events. So we have one coming up on the 31st of this month. It's on a Wednesday from 4 to 6 p.m. It's at Waterfront Grill. We're welcoming 2 new agents to the team, but it's a working event. And so we get together, we have something to drink, we have something to eat, and it's an opportunity to just be with people that you enjoy being with. So our team is consistently throughout the course of the year, all they're doing is inviting people to come and be part of an event, something that they might want to be a part of, may not be able to come, but the power of the invitation is actually the key the easiest and the greatest key to success. So I'm always inviting people, and this is core advocates, it's people that we've done business with, it's our sphere of influence. One of our agents will send out 250 personal invitations in about 2 minutes via text. And that it is personal. She knows who she's sending it to, but it takes her about 2 minutes to do that. So imagine throughout the course of the year that we've got 10, 12, 14 or more events that we're doing, that we sponsor and that we do. And that's a conversation
Love
we
that.
can have
Love that.
if you would like, because from a leadership standpoint, that could sound intimidating. I think we have found the magic sauce that makes it work. So to our team, when we talk about lead generation and following up with your leads being critical to the success in this industry and in any industry, when you have something that you're making available, something that you are representing. So lead generation and lead follow-up are key. So what we're getting our team to understand is, if all you're doing throughout the course of the year is inviting people to fun things that they would like to participate in or would like to simply know about, then you're just the conduit to a social calendar, basically. So whether if I send you a text and say, hey, Christi, we're got a networking event Wednesday, the 31st from 4 to 6 p.m. at Waterfront, stop by, grab a drink, have something to eat, love to see you. And if you say, oh, gee, I'm in Atlanta on business, but were you offended that we invited you? No. Did you appreciate being included? Yes. So it's the power of the invitation is so underestimated and misunderstood. So this client engagement calendar is everything from photos with the Easter Bunny to, as you stop by, I think we did 300 Cracker Barrel pies this year, Thanksgiving. Stop by, pie. We're like 8 or 9 years deep into that. And so people actually look forward to it. I mean, that's like stop by and get, pies. So you said, how do you level up this year? I think it's better understanding that people enjoy getting together. They really, so the greatest human longing is to belong. We all want to belong. So
and we're all in an industry in which we're on our own island, unless you're on a really, on a good team.
And it is. And there are people that are lone rangers. They really are, and they do phenomenal. But the joy of getting to do this with others is just unsurpassed. Knowing that, and it's so funny because on the team, our paths have crossed and we all know some of the same people. We never have an issue with that, ever have an issue with that. And I think there's people that have done business with multiple people on the team. I know that's true. Again, it's a collaborative environment and there's more than enough real estate opportunity to go around. There's
I agree.
More than enough. So that client engagement calendar is super fun. It's just part of the tribalism that we, and Seth Godin talks about this. It's great marketing is helping people feel like they belong to a tribe. And consistently inviting people to things. Hey, bring your grandkids, come for the Easter Bunny photos. Bring your children Easter Bunny photos. One lady's like, can I bring my dog? And I'm like, absolutely. And she did. Brought her pug and had her Easter Bunny pictures with Puck. That's belonging. Belonging. And we all want to belong. We all want to matter. We all want to belong. So as we incorporate that into the platform of how we do business to our team members, we're simplifying it. Do not make this overcomplicated. You have a relationship with people. People need to know that you are, in business for yourself and that you are more than qualified to assist them with real estate, and now be in front of them consistently, inviting them to attend, inviting them to participate. And the more that you do that, the more they shoulder tap you and say, hey, can you help me?
Well, and you're making it so easy for these touches too. Instead of calling a old client up and saying, hey, have you thought about buying this year? As a lot of people do, you're saying, hey, come join us at this event. And then it naturally will occur if there's a conversation to be had.
That's exactly correct. And every time we do that, something services, somebody says, hey, such and such showed up and they said they needed to fill in the blank. We invite consistently. And I had a couple that went to a strawberry farm to buy a flat of strawberries in 2020. My wife, we were at our ranch and she said, I want to go pick strawberries. And I'm like, not what I wanted to go do. But I said, all right. So I called Wild Things Farm in Tulsa, Oklahoma, And I said, can we come pick strawberries? Like, no, we're full because of COVID. We can only have so many people in the patch. And I said, well, can I order a flat of strawberries? There's 70 people ahead of you. Do you want to put on the list? And I'm like, yeah, and I didn't anticipate getting any strawberries. Little or not did I know, but later in the day, they called and left a voicemail and said, we have your flat of strawberries, come and get them. And so I told my wife, we loaded up and we drove over to Pensacola, and she said, well, you go in and get the strawberries. And so I went inside the little country store and went in and said, I'm here to pick up our strawberries. And they said, who are you? And I said, Tracy Ellis. And the lady behind the counter looked at me and she said, sell this farm. And I thought, oh my goodness, my fame has spread far and wide. They know me in Pensacola. They know what real estate success I've had in Pensacola, Oklahoma. And I was shocked. And I said, I am in real estate. She said, we know you are. And I'm just feeling really dang good about myself. And I started to ask, and she said, well, you need to talk to Kathy. Kathy's on the phone. And when she hangs up, and come to find out, when they called and left her voicemail for me, it said Tracy Ellis Real Estate Team's Keller Williams Preferred. Right. And so that's how they knew that I was in real estate. It led to a conversation with Kathy and then with her husband, Kathy and Jim, the next day. We listed the farm and we sold it for cash in record time. They'd been on the market for off and on for about 3 years and hadn't been able to sell it. They sold, and their goal in selling was to travel the world. He was a retired physician. She had been running this agritourism industry very successfully on the farm, travel the world. So every time I would send them an invite to an event, oh, we're in Italy, but thank you so much. We'll cross paths. Oh, we're in Ireland, but thank you so much for inviting us. And so we stayed connected like that. And she texted me within the last few weeks that they had taken the family to Puerto Rico, and her husband had a massive heart attack and died.
Oh,
so
God.
I'm actually going to be speaking we're supposed to have had the memorial a couple of weeks ago. We had the ice storm. So it will be this spring. That's from a blind, I'm going to go buy a flat. I said I went to buy a flat of strawberries and sold the strawberry farm. That's staying in contact. But all I did was invite them to these different events, Christi. So it's not complex. It's just, hey, we've had a relationship. We did business together. You're living your dream. And I got to be a small, tiny little part of that. And yet the relational connectedness that comes through that is priceless. That's absolutely priceless. So they are beautiful people. And so that probably in a nutshell is the ideal of this. It's the beauty of this industry. It's taking a very mechanical industry and breaking it down into its relational component, which is where you find your strength and your longevity.
I love that. Tracy, are you still actively selling now, or are you just leading the team and coaching the team?
I am actually very active. It's one of those things that with the leadership team in place, we all do our part. And so leading the team is the easiest thing that I do. So I do stay engaged in working with not very many buyers, but I stay engaged on the listing side as well as we run a commercial division as well. So we're crossing all platforms. So stay very engaged on that side. Yeah, I produce and enjoy that. And I think it also allows me to stay relevant. It's one thing when you step out of production and you stand up in front of a group of people and just say, just go make 100 phone calls.
Yeah.
And
sell the houses.
Just I'm living today. I know every single day the challenges that every one of our agents face. And I am consistently refining the basics of this industry for myself personally. And as I do that, I pass that right along to this team. So having leveraged a decade in this, things are different for me than they are for, say, Cooper McCombs, who's 24 and he just got licensed. And yet, so the transference of that experience and knowledge is significant. But yep, I produce and enjoy it. And that's going to stay the course for a while longer. I turned 67 this year. Yeah, I'll be at it a while longer, but I also travel a lot. So I get accused of people like, I heard you retired. And then my wife says that I'm always working. So I'm somewhere in those two extremes.
Right. One or the other. Well, and that's the one thing that being on a team, whether you're the team leader, right, or an agent on the team that does free you up, that a single agent doesn't have that luxury, which is kind of bouncing the ball back. And I'm going to go on this vacation for a minute, knowing that things are still going to roll.
So we have adopted within the team we've not codified it because it's not been necessary. But if somebody's going to be gone, they'll team up with someone on the team that they're really connected with, and that person will cover their business.
Yeah.
We frequently have somebody that says, hey, I've got to, and we're all about protecting our own business. So if you're working with a buyer and you're going to be gone on a trip, family trip, and they show up, they want to see 5 homes or whatever. So
Yeah.
sometimes there's an economic exchange that takes place. Often it's, I'll cover for you, you cover for me, but it's very holistic. It's very healthy, and nobody feels taken advantage of, and everybody feels protected and secure and able to live their life. And
Right.
yes, our people, as in this industry, there's a lot of freedom. Our people experience that on the regular.
Yeah.
They're like gone vacationing and with family and all that type of stuff. And yet their business is protected. It's cool.
Yeah.
It really is. I hadn't even thought about that in a while, but what I experience at my level and doing what I do, everybody else on the team is doing the exact same thing. So
Yeah.
it's fun. Yeah,
I
absolutely.
found that, and for me, that was one of the main catalysts for starting a team and building a team was the ability to have that work-life balance, because I
Yes.
didn't want to give up my family life in order to make the income that I needed and vice versa. So,
I think
I do
that's,
think that's a huge benefit.
yeah. And we're working with the people on the team to find leverage as they need leverage. So
Yeah,
leverage is systems first, and then it can be people as well. And so what's true of the entirety of the team can also be true for somebody on the team. So you can be on the team and still create as much leverage as you choose.
right.
And that's something that is a hard lesson for people to learn, that sometimes giving up something allows you to get more. And it's
Right.
hard to see that in the moment. I've got this potential commission. If I give some of that up, do I really want to do that? And again, leverage is the key to success. And then you have to wisely figure out, how do you leverage? How do you leverage with systems? How do you leverage with people? That's a beautiful conversation.
It is. And that's part of I think part of the short-sighted mindset that happens with a lot of agents. I think that in this country, we're built to be employees, which means we sell our time for money. And so the idea of then selling money for getting back time, if you're paying for a gardener or if you're paying for a housekeeper, if you're paying for an administrative assistant, there's different levels of leverage. And the more comfortable we get with it and utilizing it right, the more it will pay off. And it benefits everybody.
So when I first was looking at real estate, I interviewed different people whom I knew. And I said, I'm thinking about real estate. When you think about real estate and you think about what you know of me, and they were like, oh my gosh, you would be so good. And one of the ladies that I called and I said, I know you've done some real estate. I didn't know how active she was or anything, didn't know where she was at. I said, tell me about the Tulsa market. This was in
Yeah.
2013. Everything was flatlined, which I didn't know, and she's like, oh my goodness, if you're getting into real estate, I'm going to come over and join your team. And I didn't know what that meant. And literally, so
Right.
she literally came from one brokerage, came over to Keller Williams. And she came in, I don't know, February, March, moved her license, and then I got here. So I didn't know anything. I'm stepping into an industry that I don't know
Sure.
anything. And she had leveraged decades and she would move in and out of real estate. She's not somebody that has stayed in consistently, but anytime she needed to reactivate her license, she would. And
Uh-huh.
she's a scrapper, so she's always successful. Anyway, so she followed me around that year. And that was my first year. I think my first year I did almost 50 transactions and about 6 million that first year, which was like crazy,
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
somebody that was brand new. She and I landed on $1 million+ transaction. Actually, she handled my first buyer that I picked up off of Facebook, somebody that I knew, and I wasn't licensed yet. And so she actually showed him houses, wrote the contract. And literally the day that I passed the real estate exam, I think I went to a closing. She was there. But we worked together on a particular real estate line that went from that. And then there was like $1 million+ transaction. And she was able to, I had the lead and we were able to resurrect that and make that deal happen. And that led to a $900,000 sale and then a 400 and some thousand and it was a whole long line that first year of real estate that was happening. And we kept splitting commissions 50-50, 50-50, 50-50. My wife very brilliant, very intelligent. She's an accountant. I would come home and she would be like, why do you just give money away? Which is a great question, right? The lead, I could handle this. I could get through it myself.
Yeah.
I could handle all of that. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. And so it's a great partnership. Now I was doing other real estate than that, just that one particular line that just led from
Gotcha.
transaction to transaction. And she was on, and she tells her family that she made over 60,000 that year. And that was back in 2013, just doing what we were doing.
Yeah.
So I learned from day one that leverage is key,
Yeah.
whether it's for knowledge or for resources or time, or whatever it is, that leverage is key, and that generosity is the key to leverage. And
Right.
so if you want people to stay with you, you have to want the very best for them financially,
Yeah.
and in every other realm, as well. So in that lesson was the most valuable lesson I've ever learned, stepping into this type of industry, this type of business.
Yeah. I love that. That's awesome. And I will say that for a new agent or an agent that is on their own, that isn't maybe achieving the goals that they want, the leverage for them is a team, right? Because they don't have to pay that stupid tax that we pay learning the process. They could literally plug in if they're in the right team and leverage the team. So that would be a first step for somebody that's on their own.
Absolutely. I frequently tell folks that if you can find a team that's a good fit and you can get on a team, you're going to learn quicker. You're going to have
Yep.
access to knowledge. You're going to have access to, and I tell people this genuinely, that if we partner together and you come and you hang around and you do what we do, you will be ridiculously successful in this industry. It's not complex, but it is consistent.
Right.
So consistency. Somebody says, man, I don't know how have you done what you do? I
Yeah.
just simply show up. And I know, in fact, we break down the simplicity, so the science of the industry. You've got
Uh-huh.
to know what you have to do. You've got to know when you need to do that. You've got to know who you're going to do that with. You've got to know how you're going to do that. And once you understand the what, where, when, who, how, you're like, oh. And then success is often, they say success is boring,
Right.
because you get up and you do the same thing every
Yep.
day.
Yep.
This
Yep.
industry is not boring, but the procedure that you follow it has to be consistent. I get
Yeah.
up every day and I lead generate and I follow up on the leads that I've created, and I set appointments and I write, negotiate offers and take listings, and I practice scripting and role playing and just figuring out how to help people better understand where they are at in their particular scenario. Yeah. So those 5 things never change. I learned them when I first got into the industry, and I lived them. I learned them, and now I live them, and I live them every day. And when you do it consistently, everything gets easier.
Right.
So you put your systems in place on that side.
I love that. And Tracy, I know you and I have been to so many conventions over the years, and we're both, I consider myself, and I would assume you do as well, a lifelong learner. I'm always plugging in. Do you have a coach, or have you ever done any coaching that you've tapped into and leveraged that?
So it's a great question. And I actually have not tapped into the coaching. However, and part of this is, I think, age related. The team leader at Keller Williams referred Elizabeth Raines. So Dave Watson was the team leader when
Mhm.
I was licensed in 2013. And Dave will tell you, I lived in Dave's office and in Kathy Moore's office, who was the market center administrator, and in the market center administrator's assistant's office. So
Right.
between those 3 people, I was in their office every single day because I had to have information. I had to have answers. They held the key. They
Yeah.
held the keys to the kingdom. So coming, and I think that depending on the season of life that someone is in, and some of that may be somewhat of a production level thing too, or a competence level thing. But I was always seeking information that was easily made available through those key voices. Elizabeth Raines fairly quickly took over. Dave moved to California. Elizabeth Raines came on. Elizabeth is a MAPS coach, one of the
Mhm.
most successful MAPS coaches. And so I've told people that I live in her office on a regular basis because she MAPS
You get
coach.
free coaching.
But MAPS coaching is about $1,000 a month,
Yeah.
$12,000 a year. And we've got one of the best that is available for us. And yeah, so honestly, have I been coached? Absolutely. I have been coached.
Yeah.
And I am a lifelong learner. And just like your podcast so many learning and training things that are out there. I spent my entire pastoral ministry in huge crowds of people consistently. So I'll be honest, I don't ever have to go to another rally in my life. I've met my quota. At this season of my life, I'm not motivated to go to be a part of a 15,000 person crowd is fine, but I don't have a longing for that and things like that. Some of the trainings that are there and people go, but is training key? Absolutely key. And is coaching and mentoring key? Absolutely. We have it on our team. Kelsey leads our coaching mentoring division. Any new agent, she walks them through their first 5 transactions and is available to help them at whatever level. Most of them are new to the industry, so it can be very fundamental, but she's also there to help review goals and help figure out how do we help you accomplish that. So we believe in coaching and mentoring at a high level.
I like that. Let's talk about what your thoughts are on the market right now, as obviously nationwide as an overview, but specifically our market here. What do you see in 2024? What do you think agents should be paying attention to and maybe even making a pivot around?
I've tapped into some Charles Schwab podcasts here recently and everything. And basically everything that I can read and determine is that as far as the economy that we're making really good progress in having come out of a difficult, challenging season. And so I honestly believe that 2024 is going to be a great year. So our interest rates, it's interesting how you go from 3% to 8% and then the word on the street is, oh my gosh, interest rates are so high. Interest rates have been back down to the mid 6s for a period of time. The buying public there's a bell curve as to how quickly they catch up with all of that information. And so we're also probably trending down this year as well. Most indicate that. So I think interest being one of the levers that this industry, the largest lever that this industry operates off of, I think are moving in a positive direction. Honestly, Christi, I've said this, real estate has to happen. We are in a country that prides ourselves on owning real estate. And I love that. Real estate has to happen. So if I were to chart for you just the different leads that I've had just fairly recently, most of those are driven out of somebody's need. They need to sell. It's a have to. And it's not an economic challenge or anything like that. It's just a season of life type thing. Real estate is always happening, period. So you cannot buy into the fact of, oh my gosh, everything, is gloom and doom. Interest rates are horrible. Interest rates are high. Interest rates are, or nobody is buying or nobody wants to sell. That's as true as you want to make it. But the exact opposite is that we're a planet of over 7 billion people, and real estate is happening in our country every single day, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so wanting to be present and to participate in that is back to the consistency. So I get up every day and I act as though interest rates are 2%. It doesn't matter where they are. And I'm doing the exact same thing. We did the exact same thing in 2023 that we did in 2022. The market will do what the market will do, but I want to be present and I want to be the person that they lean on as they make the decision to say, hey, I need to sell, I need to buy or invest. And again, that's on the commercial side as well. Business is still happening. As far as I think it's mindset more than it is percentage of interest rate. What's the interest rate?
Sure.
I think that's key, but mindset trumps everything. And if I honestly, genuinely believe Tulsa crossed the 1 million population mark, I don't know, a couple of 3 years ago, 1,016, 1,020.
Look at us.
Yeah. And when you hit that 1 million mark, corporate industry across the globe starts looking at you differently. And so Tulsa has so many things happening. Our bedroom communities have so many things happening. Our economy here is good and our cost of living is so reasonable comparatively speaking, and real estate is so affordable comparatively speaking. If I understand that as my mindset, and I mean, if I adopt that as a mindset and I understand that as a truth, business is still happening. I may have to put in more time. I may have to connect more with people. I may have to fill in the blank, but it's still happening. I think that the market is great. I really do believe that this year is going to be stellar. It's just accumulation. I think the mindset of the buying public is they're finally now, interest rates are back down. And as they continue to adjust in a positive way, then more buyers will show up. and more
Right.
people will make the decision to sell. I was just touching base with some past clients over the weekend, and one said, I think we're going to wait a couple of years. And one said, yep, I'm retiring at the end of the year and we'll be moving back to Tulsa. Okay. Guess what? That's just real estate still happening.
Yeah.
And it may be a year or two, and it could be immediately. Those are two different families, two different people, same neighborhood. But yeah, I honestly, I'm not concerned about where the interest rates are. I am concerned about how I continue to perform daily in the industry. And that's what we want to send the message to our people, as well. And
Yeah.
I will say that the longer you leverage in an industry, and if you do that with consistency, all of that works in your favor so that people know, oh, I'm going to, I want to reach out to Tracy. I want to reach out
Right.
to Phil and Christi because I
Yeah.
know, help me, and they're still around. And
Yeah.
that's it too. Social media allows us to say to people, hey, I'm still here,
Right.
still having fun, still doing,
Right. I
I don't know
love
if that
that.
helps or not, but I would say in any single market, there is real estate that is going to happen at a high level. And I want to be a part of that. And that is mindset first and foremost, and then mindset lived out in my daily actions. I think that I'll just put in a nutshell here, the idea of entrepreneurism, to own your own business. You mentioned earlier in the podcast that we are a nation of people who we're almost weird to understand that you need to go to work for somebody.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Get a job, go get a job and work for some,
Right.
and that is perfectly fine. That there is nothing wrong with that. But the idea of entrepreneurism is the idea that no one gets to determine your worth, your value, except you. And the opportunity for entrepreneurism in this country is second to none. That's what makes this country unique, and what says you can have anything you want. The opportunities that exist are for anyone and everyone. And the idea behind entrepreneurism is the freedom to be able to explore that as you
Yeah.
choose to explore that, and to its highest level, or to at whatever level you feel comfortable. I started this conversation this morning by just saying I've never had more fun over the last 10 years. I absolutely love the fact that we get to do this at 9:30 on Monday morning.
With the ice skating rink around the entire city, there's nobody can drive.
That's exactly right. I'm up here in our grandkids' playroom. It's the quietest place in the house. But anyway, I think the message that I would love to send is, if someone has that stirring that says, I would love to own my time, I would love to own my schedule, I would love to own the income that I make, I would love to own how much I'm worth, the opportunity is there.
Yeah.
And if I was 55 when I got into this industry, and word on the street, when you reach a certain season in life, ain't nobody needing you. You reach a certain age and you've aged out, you've timed out.
Right.
What are your real opportunities? And one of our new agents, Brian Shore, he just got licensed. He's actually processing in today. We'll be welcoming him at our event on the 31st. He's 55. And that was the age that I was 10 years ago when I got in. I love the fact that we're a part of an industry that really has no limitation.
Yeah.
I've got Combs, who's 24, and Brian Shore, who's 55.
Yeah.
So the opportunities are there, and they're real. So I am driven by freedom and the ability to make choices. And that's what I say to people that come on our team. You have all of this. This is how you get to live your life. Now let's do it at a high level. Let's help you do that at a high level. So the idea of owning your own business, and in real estate, you can launch that with the least amount of upfront costs, period.
Yeah.
Period. And we could explore that at length. But so I absolutely love that. And then I would just say that is driven by a mindset that says all things are possible. And then when you're in an environment of support that supports at that level, I think it's powerful. Genuinely.
I love that. I can see why everybody's inspired and why you don't lose agents.
This is who I am. So it's not inauthentic.
Absolutely.
It's who I am. It's how I It's how I think. It's how I live. And it's what I want for other people, what I enjoy for myself. I think that if I have such a dang good time myself, I want that for you. I want you to have a good time too.
Yeah.
So I genuinely mean that. It's very authentic. That I think that does factor into team consistency. I really
Oh, I
do.
agree. Yeah, absolutely. Tracy, before we wrap up, let me ask you, what does home ownership mean to you?
So think in some ways that we could say that in this country, the ability to own real estate, to start as simple. And here's the thing, sometimes we don't realize how easy it is to start in real estate. You can go to our rural communities. In fact, this came out in a commercial market update about 3 or 4 years ago, Christy. A guy came in, he was absolutely hysterical, cursed like a sailor. He was funny, but he basically summarized the Oklahoma market. And he said, you guys can go out here into these rural communities and buy a piece of real estate for not much money at all, put it into rentable condition and put a renter in it because there are renters everywhere. He basically unpacked in a very simple way that in Oklahoma here, that real estate is possible for anyone. Should you choose that line? So I think home ownership is the representation. We understand that real estate is one of the paths of generating wealth, whether it's your own personal home or whether you choose to own other properties as well. I think in a way, it's the representation of the American dream that we can all live into. And I think the general public at large that have never owned homes are probably somewhat blind to what is possible. You may have to sacrifice and give up some things. You may have to, rather than start with the ideal, you start with the real. So to me, home ownership at a personal level, it really is the embodiment of what this country was founded on, which is everyone has the same opportunities afforded them. Go get your share. And I love that because it's very affirming and it is very rewarding as well. And not sure that answers that question, but I do think it embodies everything that this country stands for. And that's why I think we need to be champions, positive champions of this absolute incredible opportunity to live within the borders of the United States and the opportunities that are ours. But so that all funnels into why we do business and how the whole entrepreneur mindset for me is centered in the idea of home ownership.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And Tracy, I feel like we could probably go another 2 hours and have more conversations. I feel like we're just touching the tip of the iceberg here. Love to have you back on another day so we could dig in more.
You are one of the people that I have respected from day one in this industry. I watched what you guys were doing at such an incredibly high level at the 918 Home Team. And I wanted to be some version of the 918 Home Team. And so with deep respect. And every time I've been around you, when you walk into the room, there is an energy that is there. There's a level of confidence that is there as well. And I've always admired and appreciated that. We draw energies from one another. And always, when the invitation came through, I'm like, yes, I want to do that.
Well,
It's
good
great
deal.
to be with you.
All right. Will you stay warm today, Tracy?
Okay, I will. Our paths should cross soon. Okay.
Thank you.